Just kind of enjoying this process of being better at expressing my thoughts in a coherent way, in a way that people will be able to relate to and that makes sense instead of just having it in my head. So it's kind of a form of therapy, really, the more I think about it. But yeah, today I want to talk about the ANBERNIC ARC-D, the dual boot ARC system with the Saturn or old school Genesis form factor here. Yeah, I love this thing. It basically lives next to my bed, and I take it anytime I go to a bar or a restaurant. If I'm with my girlfriend or if I'm by myself, I will take that, and then I have basically an arcade experience in the palm of my hand with the ideal controller, D-pad for inputs. It's really remarkable, actually, how much performance this thing has. So, you know, right here on the main screen, Retro Arc, you can get the emulators. So I'm talking Capcom, Dreamcast, the CPS 1, 2, and 3, Dreamcast, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Gear, Genesis, MAME, Master System, Naomi, Neo Geo, N64, Saturn, NES, PlayStation, Super Nintendo. That's what I got on it, and it's curated to exactly what I want. The games that I want. It took me a while because I was getting decision paralysis here. I'm trying to figure out what game I wanted to play. What games I wanted to put on this. When they're on there, I don't know about other people, I just would sift through constantly. Constantly, and I wouldn't play anything. It's like, I got 20 minutes, let's hop in. So I know you can make favorites tabs and folders and stuff like that to kind of dial it in, but if I don't have the choices at all, like, I just tried to get like one from each genre. Fire Shark, Ikaruga, Radiant Silver Gun for the shmups, for the shooter, and then I would do something Street Fighter Alpha 2, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, one of the Street Fighter 2s, then Marvel vs. Capcom 1, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, because it's on the Naomi. Now do a Crazy Taxi, Tony Hawk 2, just something to kind of cover the bases. The original Tetris on Game Boy, love that. Talk about that in my other ANBERNIC video. It's crazy how heavy this thing feels. It feels really, really sturdy. There's no wiggle room here. But at the same time, over by the controllers, by the buttons and the D-pad, where the actual controller is, it feels pretty light. So it's like the weight's all in the middle, which actually ends up being really good. So you feel like you're holding a screen, and it's way down in the center. I don't really know how to explain it. It feels kind of crazy after you get comfortable with it. But I love it. The D-pad, so much better. I feel like I'm sold completely on these D-pads. Like, anything that has this D-pad on it, I would get, and I would be completely happy with it. What else? The triggers up top, really nice, clicky, work great. I play Crazy Taxi a lot, and that game, it's all triggers. The way I play it, the way I have the button set up, I have no complaints. Killing high scores. And then the rumble feature, it's only on a few games because kind of where this ends up at, it stops before Rumble was really, really big. So some of the Saturn, most of the Saturn that had Rumble has Rumble on it. The N64 has a little bit. And then I didn't find any PlayStation that had it. Maybe I just didn't mess with the settings good enough or more in depth. But that thing, hooking it up to the TV is awesome too, because you can use it as the controller too. So like you plug it in and then you just play from it, and it's just a bigger form factor. So I'll plug it into my monitor in the bedroom and just lay it there and then play it. Sound goes through everything. It's really kind of amazing, and it blows my mind that it's capable of this. Because I was thinking, okay, pre-COVID, right? It was so probably 2019 when I started getting back into video games. 2018, 2019, and when I started getting back into modern games, I should say, I was playing more like GameCube and 360 stuff all the way through the PS4 generation. But the emulation scene for like, because there was the mini consoles that came out, and I had the PlayStation Mini that was modded with the right games on it, like the good ones, the ones that should have been on it to begin with, and then the Super Nintendo, and they were, they're set. I do have still, and I actually do want to sell those, but they were individual devices that didn't have very much memory on it at all. And then in order to get like the PlayStation for some, you had to like hook up a micro or a regular a USB. It had to be hooked up with a USB, and then this like cord sticking out the back, and it just seemed like a lot of stuff to do this one specific thing where it's like it is a PlayStation, so it should be able to play PlayStation games without having to do all that, but they didn't put any memory on it. So it's like that got me thinking about the future at that point, where I was like, I wonder if it's gonna get better, and it has. This thing here, this ANBERNIC, you can just plug straight into the TV. I put I think it's a 250, 256. I think that's what it is. The memory, the micro SD, and that thing has so much space in it still, and I have basically every Dreamcast game and Saturn game and PlayStation game on it. And then I curated the back end of it, like anything back. It's like exactly what I wanted, but I wanted to give myself an opportunity when I originally got it set up and stuff, to play those games that I couldn't play, because I don't have a Saturn. I do not have a Saturn. I played Marvel vs. Capcom, or it might have been X-Men, when I was younger, and I was blown away. When I didn't know anything about fighting games, and I went over to somebody's house and said, what is this? Like, I thought it was a PlayStation, but then the controller he handed to me blew my mind. So I had like some serious nostalgia for like one event in my life where I came across a Saturn in real life at like a cousin. It was like a second cousin removed or something crazy like that. And we stayed the weekend in there, and I was hooked on that thing. Hooked on it. Loved it. And then I never like saw it again. I just kind of forgot about it until I started getting older. I was like, what was that thing? Because I remember it had superheroes in it, and I like hadn't seen that in a game. And I remember it was a 2D fighter, and I was so into that, so into it for that weekend. I swear we played that the entire weekend. Like, we're gonna go out to eat. I'm like, no, I'm gonna play this. Like, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes I feel like video games was my babysitter when I was, and it was my choice. It wasn't like my parents were like, they worked their asses off, and like I found ways to occupy my time, and video games is a great way to occupy my time and my attention, and to focus on something and try to feel like I'm getting better at something which I could get better at, like woodworking or better at exercising. But as I'm getting older, it feels nice to stimulate my mind and not necessarily just my body. Like for what I do for work, I do a physical job, and it's like to dial it down, let my body recover and focus on something, stimulate me instead of just sitting there vegging out. Even this talking, this is stimulating for sure. My heart's like racing. I feel like people are gonna judge me or something, which they are, but like it's fine. And I want to get better at talking and speaking in front of a camera. Get better at working on editing footage, adding in B-roll, making quick cuts. And so the ANBERNIC, my impressions, I would give it a 10 out of 10, honestly. 10 out of 10. And I'm not trying to like put a number on it, but I just feel like I don't have any complaints about it. The Saturn emulation is not great. So yeah, I guess that's the complaint. So the fact that it looks like a Saturn controller and it doesn't play Saturn perfectly, that's, but like if you just want a handheld and you don't really care about that stuff, like Saturn that much, because I don't know, there's a lot of Saturn stuff I play is fine, but like if you were really, really into Saturn, this is not. Which is kind of funny, I guess, now that I'm really thinking about it. Maybe it's not a 10. It's 10 for me. For me, any day, all day. But I could see for people where it's not. It looks the part, but does it play the part? No, it doesn't. Radiant Silver Gun has some issues with it. Is getting in there, but I don't know how it runs regularly, so I really don't know if, because even Ikaruga has some little jittery stuff when I'm playing it on the Switch. Like and on the original Dreamcast, there is some things when it's loading in those assets and it's changing transition into the boss. Like there's a little bit of frame skipping there, so it's like whatever, man. I don't care. If I can play the game, I'm not gonna beat the game anyways on this thing. Like, so something like that, yeah. But then Marvel vs. Capcom runs flawlessly. 1 or 2, well, and 1. I think one's on there. It's the Capcom Play System. But yeah, ANBERNIC form factor, amazing. Buttons, amazing. Vibration, solid. Memory, easy. Pop it in, pop it out. Headphone jack I've never even used, honestly. I don't really use. The audio is fine. I would say the audio is fine. I haven't had any issues. Yeah, and then the one thing that's weird is that there's 2 USB-Cs, and I think it's for the Android side of things, which I don't really ever use. Which is another thing I do want to get into is the Android side in this dual boot is crazy because it feels like it's a cell phone. So like this could be baby's first PC cell phone. Like if you wanted to try out giving a device to somebody that can connect through Wi-Fi but has no cellular service, like you can connect to the Wi-Fi, you can search, you can use this as basically a handheld computer. Like you can't really type out much stuff, but like you can search the web, you can pop up YouTube, you can do things on this thing, and it feels really weird. Like what was the point of this? Like, is there some kid in like Taiwan who got this thing and like that's his cell phone, that's his thing? Because I'm thinking from a position of American first fucking world problem shit. But if there's somebody somewhere that their parents get them this, and this just, they're gonna utilize every aspect of this thing. It's pretty in depth because you can switch, boot into the other thing, access Wi-Fi, go online, check some stuff, save some documents, save pictures, change your background. You can be pretty involved with this thing, or you could not even know that it dual boots, and you can have a great time just playing video games too. So that thing, kind of going off that was an interesting thing when I started kind of getting into it and getting really familiar with it, and then dual booting into the Android, and then figuring out what this thing can do. You can watch stuff, you can play stuff, you can stream stuff, which Midnight or whatever it's called. Like, I don't know anything about that. I have enough screens and enough, I don't need to do that. But like, it's really an in-depth product, and I'm sitting here thinking like, there's somebody somewhere who's utilizing all of this, and this is their only device, and it's like, it connects to the TV. It does all of this stuff. The battery's amazing. I leave it sit in like for days, and it'll still have like 20% in when it's just in rest. Like, I didn't completely shut it off. I'm usually pretty good about just shutting it off. You just hold that button for a little bit longer, and then it'll say you want to shut down. Yeah, and then that battery will last forever. Like, not forever, but like months. And once you turn it back, it's good. But like, if you just put it into sleep while you're mid-game, it is about 10% per night. So like, you know, you fall asleep playing Ikaruga, put it, and then wake up the next day, you only lost like 5%. 8 hours. So if we're talking, you know, a whole 24 hours, it's about 10-15% battery loss. But I love it. I stepped on it and the screen like almost broke. There was like an impression over here on this side, and somehow over the period of like 3 days it went away. So like, I thought I was like, all right, man, well, I guess it's got lines on it now, and it's got like an impression in it where I broke the screen. So it's gonna be my daily driver. I'm just gonna not put a screen protector on it. I'm just gonna thug this thing. It's gonna be my like use and abuse thing. And I was like, and if I really want another one, eventually I'll take better care of it. But like, the thing, it completely went away. So it must have just been really pressed down, and over time it just like lifted up off of it. So this thing is perfect now, actually, and which is really funny. So I ended up actually putting a screen protector on it because I didn't want big gashes in it, and I was gonna, you know, just not use a case, which I don't actually use a case, but I don't take it really anywhere. But that was my plan, was just to always have it. And then now I just kind of I treat it. Sometimes plug it into the TV. Sometimes plug in it to the TV and then use my arcade stick on it. So it's like this thing into that, and then an arcade stick running from it, playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2, because that's the only way I can play Marvel vs. Capcom 2 without spending massive amounts of money with an arcade stick. I don't know. But thanks for tuning in.